Hi there, this is Phil McKinney, and this is 5 Minutes to New Ideas, the only podcast for the creative mind looking for that next great idea. Each episode will challenge you to think differently about yourself and your business by asking unique, funny, and sometimes crazy questions. Get your notebook out and be ready to uncover that game-changing idea. Here is 5 Minutes to New Ideas. Do you have a digital twin? The concept first formed on consumer sites like Yelp, but it's becoming a catchphrase in marketing and sales. The idea is that dedicated users of sites like Yelp eventually notice that there are other users whose taste, interest, and favorites match their own. These digital twins do not know each other in the traditional way. They most likely never communicate directly with each other, but a link forms as one person realizes that the other seems to like or dislike the same brands that he or she does. Both twins' tastes align across a number of sites. People start to trust these twins to the point where they bypass the process of reading multiple reviews and simply check to see what their twin thinks. Eventually, people start to value their digital twins' opinions over their own. Recently, I was looking for a barber, since my previous one made the inconvenient decision to retire. I went on Yelp and found a local husband and wife shop that had more than 100 5-star reviews. I showed up one Saturday for a cut. Sure enough, the line was out the door, but the service was great. Now, I've never met any of these reviewers, but my instinct was to trust the collective voice of the group. This is a huge change from the old days when I have gone into work and asked my buddies in the office for a recommendation. The power of the anonymous point of view has been amplified, and it's incredibly hard to control. Customers used to be much more influenced by sales guys and making the big purchases, but now an individual can walk into a store already sold on what brand item they want, and even if an item has no real experience with or knowledge about. So what's the end result? There's been a huge swing in influence. The individual voices of happy or dissatisfied customers has been amplified, way beyond the power of an individual voice in the pre-internet era. Brands have lost some of that control, and advertising or sales reps are losing their ability to influence the sale. This is a huge shift from how people used to be swayed in making their buying decisions. Customers are relying on sites like Yelp, Digital Twins, and other forum sites because they want to reduce bias in their purchasing decisions. We are all savvy to the way advertising or paid product placements can influence us to buy things that might not be right for us. We weigh our purchasing decisions more heavily towards those anonymous voices because we think that doing so will help us to make better decisions. We want our decisions to be less about who had the best advertising campaign and more about who has the best product. Granted, most users are sophisticated enough to understand how these review sites work. A small number of highly positive reviews are a less accurate reflection of the actual experience of buying from the store than the large number of mixed reviews. Once you get north of 50 or 100 reviews, the sheer volume of reviews makes it harder to game the system. Users know that they can throw out the extreme reviews, the ones that are really high scores and those that are really low scores. The very low and very high scores are more likely biased and can cancel each other out. Once these extremes are gone, you are left with a more meaningful and somewhat less corruptible medium review. The key elements of using digital twins is to find that one person who is so central to a network that they sway the opinions of others. Or perhaps, more interestingly, explore how you can replicate the experience of a digital twin in a more controllable, less organic state. How can you give your users the feeling that your product is approved of and supported by someone whose taste is trusted by the crowd? Digital twins are the next logical progression from using celebrities to promote products. These anonymous voices can become highly targetable and very localized micro-celebrities who have a sense of authenticity that comes from the social media they use. So how will you use them to your advantage? Ask yourself the questions. What is the process used by my customer to discover my product? That's a hard question. What is the process used by my customer to discover my product? Do you really understand what is influencing your customers today? And don't stop there. Dig deeper by asking, how are your customers influenced to buy your product? What are the influences that they're focused on that influence that decision? And how will your customers discover and select your product in 5 years? If you try to fix it for today, you're going to miss the window of opportunity. Where are your customers going? How will they be influenced? And how could you get your customer to buy your product if you stop paying commissions or buying advertising? This question really is focused on you throwing out that typical dependency of commission and advertising. If the salespeople and advertising have less influence, you better start thinking about how you're going to get your customers to buy your product with no commission and no advertising. Now, challenge yourselves to think differently. Challenge the assumptions of how customers will buy your product in the future. I'm Phil McKinney, and thanks for listening. The topic for each show comes from more often than not from listeners just like you who post on my Facebook page or on philmckinney.com. So if you have a topic in mind, drop me a message. This episode of 5 Minutes to New Ideas was produced by the Innovators Network. You can find more episodes that challenge your creative thinking wherever you find your favorite podcast.